Your lifter will arrive in a wooden crate. Open your crate using a T20 Torx bit. Carefully remove the lid and set it aside. Remove the cardboard box containing the lifter hardware. Then remove the wooden cross brace using the T20 Torx. Remove the two screws holding the base plate of the lifter to the side of the crate. Remove the carriage pieces wrapped in bubble wrap. Then remove the lifter. Carefully set the lifter on its base. Remove the counterweight from the end of the crate. Locate the cardboard box with the hardware in it. Carefully open the box and remove the contents. There should be one large Ziploc bag and 3 small Ziploc bags of hardware, an aluminum pellet trap bracket, and a lifter controller board wrapped in bubble wrap. Remove the carriage assembly instructions from the large Ziploc and review. Unwrap the 4 pieces of square tubing that make up the carriage from the bubble wrap. Following the instructions, assemble the carriage using a 10mm open-end wrench or socket and a 5mm Allen wrench. Do not over-tighten the nuts. Place the newly assembled carriage on the floor with the swiveling casters toward the firing line. Place the lifter on the carriage, being careful to align the holes on the base plate to the holes on the carriage. Using the 4 3/8 by 2.5 inch bolts in the hardware bag, fasten the lifter to the carriage by placing the bolts through the base plate holes and through the corresponding holes on the cross members of the carriage. Using a pair of wire cutters, carefully cut the zip tie that is holding the ends of all the cables. Do not cut any other zip ties at this time. Remove the bubble wrap from the end of the cables. Locate the white ribbed belt and remove the metal bracket from the end by loosening the 2 nuts from the bolts. Remove the nuts. Remove the bolts and hold the bracket between 2 fingers. Thread the nuts all the way onto both bolts. Ensure that the lifter belt ribs are seated on the slots of the bottom bracket, and locate the 2 threaded holes on the counterweight. Placing the bracket and belt over the holes, insert the bolts and tighten. Be sure not to over-tighten the bolts because the threaded holes will strip out. Tighten the bolts with a 5mm Allen wrench. Carefully place the weight into the aluminum channel. And let it hang freely. Locate your pellet trap, and using a T20 Torx, remove the 2 screws from the right side as you're facing the pellet trap. Locate the small bag of hardware that contains 4 1-inch Allen bolts, 4 lock nuts, and 4 washers. From the front of the pellet trap, thread in 2 of the 1-inch Allen bolts using a 3mm Allen wrench. Turn the pellet trap over and position the aluminum lifter bracket over the threaded ends of the Allen screws. Place washers and lock nuts on the bolts and tighten using a 10mm socket or wrench. Locate the 2 threaded holes on the back of the lifter trolley. Position the pellet trap bracket behind the lifter trolley and attach with a 1-inch Allen bolt and a washer. Insert the second 1-inch screw. By lifting on the outside of the pellet trap, center the top bolt in the slot at the top of the bracket and tighten. Be careful not to over-tighten the bolt or the aluminum threads may strip. Tighten the bottom bolt in the same manner. From the front of the lifter, place a 10mm lock nut on each bolt and tighten until they are snug. Again, be careful not to over-tighten. Locate and unpack your HS-10 target. Place the target face down and remove the main PCB by lifting the retainer pin and sliding it out of this contact slot. Locate the hardware bag containing 4 small screws, 4 standoffs, and 4 lock nuts. Locate the lifter controller board. This is a small green PCB approximately 2x5 in size. Remove the 4 spacers from the hardware bag and place them on the main PCB. Holding the lifter controller board in one hand, place 4 small screws in the mounting holes and set the board on the spacers. Use only the 4 holes located furthest away from the 10-pin connector. Attach the lifter controller board to the main PCB using 4 lock nuts. Place the main PCB with their lifter controller board back into the target frame. Ensure the pins on the lifter controller board are lined up with the pin receptacle and that the tab on the main PCB is lined up with the slot on the board. Ensure the left side of the board is aligned with the board guide. Seat the board firmly so the gold teeth are deeply seated in the slot. Only a small amount of gold should be visible, if any. Reseat the PCB retainer pin. Hang the target on the pellet trap and leave it open. Using a pair of wire cutters, carefully snip the remaining zip tie. Drape the wires over the top of the pellet trap. At the top of the pellet trap, there are 2 slots. Insert the cables into the slots. Locate the opening in the lower corner of the pellet trap and feed the 3 cables through the opening. Lift on the front of the target to open the gap slightly to make it easier to feed the cables through. Attach the silver-tipped power cable to the lifter controller board and tuck it behind the side microphone. Next, attach the gray lifter motor control cable to the lifter controller board. Last, locate the data port inside the target and attach the data cable. Close the target by lifting it to a vertical position and then gently lowering it onto the pins of the pellet trap. Place the pellet cup into the cup holder. Connect the power supply cable into the bottom of the power supply. The data cable can now be connected to either a networked range or a PC running a personal training program.